Good morning, traders and investors who probably are scared shitless going into this weekend about the big market crash. And that theme music, if you don't know it, it's something I grew up on. Clint Eastwood, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So, some incredible theme music, and I think The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly kind of is a good theme for this weekend review, especially now that everyone is scared out of their shorts. Um, so before we get into it, we've got a lot to talk about. Most of the charts are going to be bearish and looking terrible and things like that. But I'm sure you're not. It won't be unexpected. But I've got some thoughts on what's going on, and I thought I'd do a video and share it. Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know who I am. I'm an independent trader, investor, and I placed my first trade back in 1995. I've been through a ton of these booms and crashes, and I've been around, so I'm not totally phased by what's been going on. Uh, I developed a unique trading strategy. It's based on the book by Nicholas Darvas. I highly recommend you buy it, read it, and take it seriously. It's not just it's a cute story. I saw a valid system. But over the years, I've added elements of the strategy into it as well. And yeah, I really enjoy my system. My system really works for me. And that's the key is you got to go out and find your own system, find your own signals, and that you base your decisions on, and go from there. But you can see here on my charts, I've got box ranges. Boxes aren't magic; they're framing tools. And then I use colors to identify what's going on and to identify signals. And if there's anything at the heart of how I do things, there's signals and then there's reactions to signals. And the signals tell you to sit up and pay attention, start thinking about it. Something's happening. And then the reaction to the signal is actually executing your trades and taking positions and all that. And I run a long short portfolio in my trading account. I've got longs, I've got shorts, and I do use margin leverage quite a bit. Uh, but when things are working, let them work. And here's the other thing, which I think is a superior thing about it, is that by having shorts, I made money on this stuff. Like the longs go down, but the shorts offset it. Perfect. That's exactly what the intention is. So, uh, but the message I want to give you on this crazy week we've been having is that, yeah, I've been there. I've had bad trades. I've had market, being long and wrong and watching the futures and literally being like, oh, please let me out. You're getting crushed on it. The message I want to give is that if we interpret the charts and the market correctly, we can avoid a lot of that stuff and hopefully take advantage and actually make a buck, right? So, but there's a lot of turmoil. I think things are positioning good for the long term, but yeah, we got to go through some short term pain. Okay, so uh, for my system, I've got 6 lists, which I keep stocks in. We're going to look at the top 4. Uh, Most are bearish, so, that'll be the theme. But we need to get in and interpret. So we'll get into the charts here. I always start on the MLP index. And damn, what a wipeout on that one. I do own some MLPs. I've got a separate income account that I hold only to pay dividends. It's got MLPs in it, and well, that's not yeah, they all took hits because oil and gas took big hits. But look at the overall trend on this thing. I'm okay with that. Now, am I going to knee jerk sell this? If I had bought it up here, yeah, I'd be going, oh my God, blow it out. But because I've owned these for a long time, just see what happens. That's a long term position. But as our first chart, Wow, that's a Darvas box breakdown. Failure, box failure. Oof. And by the way, these gray bars here are inside bars. Inside bars are 50-50. You could see how it broke out here and then went 50-50. I don't know, man. Well, woof. That's pretty rough. But other colors, we'll go to ARC. Other colors also are what I use on the chart. And I always kept ARC around because it had great colors. Here's a pink bar warning signal. That means sit up and pay attention. Something's happening and it's got a bearish slant. A blue bar right here is a same type of bar conditioning, but with a bullish slant. Grays, like I said, inside bars. Inside bars are valid. They're 50-50. You know, it could go either way. You could trade inside bars, but they happen pretty frequently. So most of the time you're not really trading it. But sometimes they're very useful. Like if you miss something and you're looking to get in on something, then you can use them. Then we have these circled ones. These are hammer bars, hammer bar, which are bullish, and shooter bars, which are the opposite and are bearish. Easy, huh? And then I've also got coding for very bullish days, yellow bar signals right here when something very bullish happens. And then there's a contrary opposite of yellow is white bar bearish. So anyways, that's how the charts look reading the charts. And based on this, you can see here, the box breakout right here, we're bull market, and here's where everything topped. Well, bullish, yeah, but it's not breaking out. Yeah, breakout here. Okay, all right, that's bullish. But then whammo, there's where everything changed. And this is in the market when you look at your index charts and things like that. This is where you and every other trader I did should have sat up and paid attention. Be like, whoa, what just happened? Sit up and pay attention and then look at the reaction to it. Thunk. Basically a big down day, and now the bottom of the box is threatened. You could have been shorting, selling right in here. And if you did, you would have missed all this carnage. What most people did was they didn't understand what was happening here. It dropped. They didn't know what to do because they didn't have a comprehensive framework for how to handle it. And most of them then doubled down and bought the dip in here. And look at that. The volume says big investors are getting out. Lots of selling. What did people do? Well, people are buying what's being sold, but they're wrong. And now here comes the bill. The bill comes due. So that's how you read charts. That's how I use colors to get positioned properly. And that's what you need to do for yourself. You got to figure out your system. And remember, I've been doing this for years. So if it didn't happen for you, it's okay. Many of you might be younger. You got time to learn. This is all about, bad experiences are learning opportunities. All right, oil. Woof. Box breakdown. Not good. But, oil, tariffs. Yeah, sure. Why wouldn't it go down? NASDAQ. Okay. Oh, my mouse is getting old. I need to get a new one. So NASDAQ. This is the big one. So look at the uptrend we've had. We've had this glorious uptrend, just endless up, right? Well, we had the first signal here. It formed a box, really, because there's a buy signal. Kept going up, but, getting a little funky, but overall up. And you see right here, another pink. Then inside, then a hammer. Okay, not so bad. Oh, another pink. And you see how it just sort of futzed along, going sideways? And now, boom, the white bar signal. Uh-oh. Shit just got real. And that's your signal to be selling or to be shorting and preparing for something bad. Your brain should have been shifting in here. What did most people do? They didn't understand. They were buyers of the dip and then clunk, and then they got screwed. If we look at it here, let's remove all this. Does this look a little more, gosh, my mouse. Does this look make a little more sense now? And I only use one moving average. And that's just for reference. I don't really use it to trade off of, but it's sort of a trend, like a red light, green light. Above the moving average, positive. Below the moving average, negative. I code my bars that way. If it's above the moving average, it's a green bar, unless it has a signal. If it's below the moving average, I code them, they're red. Simple, huh? Okay, now let's look here. Whoopsie. Support levels. So here's the first support level right here. Well, okay, it hit through there. Where's the second one? Second one right here. Where's the market going? I don't know. But I do know that there was a lot of panic on Friday. There was a lot of selling. Their sentiment is awful, and we'll look at some of that stuff. And a lot of accounts that bought the dip in here got margin liquidated here. So how many more sellers are out there at the moment that haven't already sold? That's probably the biggest question. And a lot's been priced in, and I'm going to show you something about that in a second. So there's a potential support thing, and here's a potential another one. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. It wouldn't shock me if we touch this low one on Monday or Tuesday, but it wouldn't shock me also if we rebounded due to the sentiment and the VIX and everything, put call ratio, the amount of people who got liquidated out yesterday on Friday. So anything's possible. The key is to prepare, and if X, then Y. All right, let's see here. Ethereum, yeah, who cares? This one pink barred way up here. So if you've been long Ethereum this whole time, well, that's your fault. FFTY growth, yeah, look at that. There's the signal, and everything else since then has been reaction to signal. China, for getting tariffs slapped on them, that's not a totally awful reaction, huh? Interesting. The world is an interesting place. Gold. Okay, gold's had this wonderful uptrend. Now look at this. While the bar looks okay here, that's a lot of selling. Why were people selling all their gold? But more interesting, who was buying it all? Interesting. So gold's still in an uptrend, but that was a lot of selling. Let's look at it on the daily. Yeah, look at that. There's on the daily, there's a pink signal. But we'll see, what's going on with that. Is that a valid selling signal? You might take up on it, go to the daily chart and be like, well, I'm, just right. Or maybe you're sitting on it and going, well, let's see what happens this next week. Because maybe if you bought it down here, why would you be so fast to sell it here when you don't have a signal? And by the way, time frame consistency is very important. If you're buying on weekly charts, try and sell using a weekly chart. If you're always flipping time frames, like I bought on the monthly and I'm selling on the daily because something happens on the daily, well, then you're not being consistent and you're likely to make more mistakes. Likely. But, yeah, so we'll see. Junk bonds, Darvas box breakdown, and look at that. Junk actually held up, but then, yeah, it got the signal, weird signal here, another signal here, and then clunk. But to me, that's almost knee-jerk because there hasn't really been reports of bad economics and all that. That's just trying to anticipate. Oh, the tariffs are bad. The economy's going to do it. Well, are they sure? Well, you got to sell because you don't know. Insurance, well, that's a big ugly bar, but insurance in this box range. So while that's pretty awful if you bought it up here, down here it's still going sideways. That's how I interpret it. But you'd be definitely sitting up, pay attention as to what insurance is going to do in the next week or two. Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin pulled back and had this signal here but it's been screwing around and it did really well. And you know how you can know this, that it's probably going to be okay? Big selling here. Look at the volume. I've talked about these volume sequences. When you get big red and then big green right after, that tells you that instead of investors panicking on the sell bar, they stepped up and saw it as a buying opportunity. Whoa, it's down? Dude, we need, take out a mortgage loan. We need to buy. Well, don't take out a mortgage, uh, but the point is the investors stepped up with cash. So a red-green sequence is bullish. Now on the flip side, if you get it as green-red, yeah, that's bearish. Did I pass one there? Well, green-red. Yeah, big green, bigger red. Is there a good example? La 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 la. Well, right here, big green followed by bigger red, but the market kept going up. And all right, but that's the thing. That's how you can read the charts and interpret. You can use volume to figure it out. That's why sometimes you got to see the signal and then wait and see what happens afterwards. If you own Bitcoin here, you are ready to sell if it went down here. Well, what happened? It closed here and then it opened all the way up there. Why would you be selling? So that's how you got to do it. Software, IGV, look at that. There's your signal. Everything else has just been downtrend. Now that was a rally attempt right here. That's a hammer. And it's sort of triggered. But so you could have been buying the dip here. But the quick failure means you would have been out along that line. Like anything above that, I'm in. I'm hopeful. Anything below that, whoa, bail, get out. So, but that was the dip buying. And everybody, who bought this dip, they didn't plan on selling it so fast. So they got caught here and then crushed here. Great. Housing's been in a bear down, but that's an interesting bar, huh? Close at the mid-range on housing? Because, again, people are thinking about rate cuts. And maybe the Fed does it. I don't know. What is that? Micros, down. Who cares about them? IWM, who cares about them? But just more carnage. But you see here, there's the buying the dip. And a giant failure. Whoever bought what these people were selling here got screwed. Right here, IYH. There's your top in this one here, sideways. Now, see how it tried to break out up here? It was trying, but then there's your white bar signal. Uh-oh. An inside bar. Uh-oh. Oh, it went below. Uh-oh. And now clunk. So you see, with proper interpretation, you could have spared yourself things. But the thing is, when you see a signal, you got to be open-minded and stop reading Twitter and stop talking to your friends and being hopeful. Just trade the chart. Trade the chart. Transports. Box breakdown. There's a signal right there. It didn't amount to much, but it was a warning. And look at that right here, clunk. So, not good. QQQs, same deal. See how you're sensing a theme here? QQQ, so same deal. Clunk, clunk, clunk. And actually, that wasn't so bad, but you just had a box failure here. But you'd have to have been like, well, the Qs aren't so bad, but the NASDAQ flashed a much stronger signal, and the Qs are part of the NASDAQ, so, take it seriously kind of thing. Now let's move this. Let's talk support. Hey, right here. Does that look like it's at support? Yeah, potentially. And then there's this one right here. So markets are potentially at support levels. So how much more downside is there at the moment? Barring new information. I don't think there's all that much. barring new information. RSP, woof. But you know what? Look at that. There's your signal right here. Signal, clunk, 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 puke. So there you go. RTH, retail. Retail held up real well because I think there's like Amazon, but again, there's the give up the ghost. Why is that there? Not good. Oh, that's for right there. And actually, that should have a... I circled the big volume, the important ones, where like it breaks a box or something. Because these volumes are more important than this volume. See how this one, there's your breakout volume. And then it failed, but on low, but that's why I circle volume. And I'll circle stuff like, hey, there's a launch. Like, look at this. Sideways action, sideways, sideways. Boom, there's their bullish signal. Maybe we want to be buying or start thinking about it. Something's changing. So, chart interpretation. Interesting. T-bonds. A lot's going on in the Treasury market. They've got a Janet Yellen. I was educated by another trader, BZ, who pointed out that Janet Yellen made a giant mess out of the Treasury's balance sheet. And so there's a ton of money coming due like now, and that needs to be refinanced. So another reason for President Trump to want the Fed to cut interest rates so they can refinance the federal debt, which would be a very good idea. Janet Yellen and Joe Biden screwed it up so bad. I think the number was like 9 trillion is coming due like now or this year. Oh my God, you can't finance 9 trillion at high interest rates. You need them to be done at low interest rates. So maybe as part of a tariff deal, you say China will lower your tariffs if you buy 3 trillion of the 9 trillion we need at, I don't know, 3% interest. Deal. You know, you then go to Europe and you say, you guys are going to take another 3 trillion. Deal. And then you go to another, the final, who else is left? I don't know. But then the final 3 trillion you deal with like in America or something. I don't know. And boom, you've solved a lot of problems, and then business as usual. I think the theme, the messages, there's a lot going on. And us poor traders simply have to navigate as best as we can. Semiconductors. Signal, 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 signal. And finally it died. Clunk. And volume, volume, volume. So just ugly. S&P 500. The Godfather. Same deal. Not as bad as the NASDAQ and everything, but you got to be, when you see everything else deteriorating, you just know this is going to be dragged too. But again, what did people do in here? They bought the dip. Wrong. Why would you do that? Sideways, the moving average is beaten down, and you just get crushed. Now talk support. Where are we at? There's that. Broke that little support line based on right here. And we got some support here. So this zone in here, let's put the things back on. Yeah, or call it roughly, let's do it right there and right there. So we're already in a potential support zone. Where exactly? I don't know. But there it is. And by the way, that violet pink color circle, well, I had put my 401k in cash back up here. I forget precisely when, or it was back here. I forget when. But there we go. I put it back into the market here. Because if we're going to bounce and go back up a little bit, I'd rather just get the money done, because dealing with the 401k is a giant pain in the butt. And it executes at the close. So yours truly, MDB, may may have nailed the reinvest. Patting myself on the back. But if we keep going down, then I'll be like, I'm so stupid, I should have waited. But I'm going to be busy. I have a business trip next week. So just do it now and get it over with. So SPY, same deal. Okay, sentiment. All right, we're going to take a step back here. So sentiment. The crash was awful, right? Yesterday? Look at that. It didn't even go down to these low levels. That's because the buy the dip sentiment jacked everything right into here. Remember, they were buying the dip. So this should be down in here, and maybe we need Monday, Tuesday to drop it down in here on the McClellan oscillator, because look at these panics. Like this was COVID. I'm sorry, not COVID. Where was COVID? COVID was all the way back 2020. Here. COVID was all the way back here. And look at all the panics we've had since. And it's McClellan's only up here. So the buy the dippers probably screwed that all up. But luckily we've got other sentiment indicators. T2107, percent stocks above the 200-day. There's your COVID right here. And look, the green line zone. Let me ask you this. We raised tariffs, which means we're charging our foreign competitors more money to come here and do business. They've been doing that to us for decades. Has anything changed beyond the fact that we're charging a little bit more money? No. This was a terrifying global virus pandemic where people were dying. Here, all we're doing is charging a bit more for products at Walmart. Should we be panicking this low? My answer is no. The last panic was right here, and it barely scraped below the green line. We're scraped below the green line. Ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, that's a buy signal. So you see, I invested my 401k here at the buy signal. And by the way, I bought some longs also yesterday. And sentiment-wise, this is screaming buy, buy, buy. Panic of dying versus we're going to charge a little bit more in our global trade, but eventually they'll be negotiated down to a reasonable levels. And American companies will actually be able to sell cars in Japan and China. Oh, noes. Do you see how some of the reactions are overblown? T2108, percent of stocks above the 40-day moving average. COVID right here on the left side. You know, people are dying versus, look at this level. Oh no, we're charging a bit more for products at Walmart. That's in the buy zone. You see why I think we're at a buy point? Prior panics here. And now look where we're at. We're in the green zone. These prior panics barely made it down into here. So to me, those are bullish indicators. But again, they're indicators. They're not primary. We need prices to actually do something on that. So let me flip to another sentiment. Put call ratio. Put call ratio, this is a weekly right here, 1.18. And look how it tracks roughly with panics. So a good deal of puts were bought. Why would you be buying puts now? Because you're terrified. But that looks to me, yeah, you know, fuel for a bounce. The NAM survey right here, 49. Yeah, it's been declining. 49. Now, this survey was done on April 2nd. So I bet you this is at what, 11, 12, 13? Whatever number NAM comes in. And they report this on, what, Wednesdays? So we won't find out until next week, the 2nd, the 9th. So as far as sentiment goes, I'm sure it's way lower here. So the tan, who cares? This would have been a great short, but it didn't really collapse, but it's just awful. Just avoid it. TLTs did rally, but not as much as I would have thought, or the news made it out to be. So come on, TC. The new version of TC that's come out has a tendency to lock up every now and then. I think it's a memory problem. I've emailed the tech support, but let's give it a moment here to clear out. But yeah, it's interesting on this rally here. Come on, TC. Well, I love TC 2000, this program, but yeah, they gotta fix this. And but it's a great program, and if you haven't used it before, take a look at it. TC2000.com. Come on, baby. Worst case, I'll just close it down and relaunch it. But okay, while that's hiccuping, let's show you a little bit on valuations. Okay, the S&P closed. Oh, for Christ's sakes, come on. Let's go. All right, this is not a good advertisement for TC. So we closed at what, 50, the S&P at 50.74. Now, the new estimates have not come out. They're probably going to get cut. But where are we at right now? And this is result data based on March 31st. So we are currently at this S&P level, we're currently at a PE of 21 and just shy under 19 forward. Not bad when you consider that we've got decent growth ahead. A 19 puts us at forward PE, puts us at an average market. We can handle an average market valuation. Now, people will rightly say, well, what if estimates get cut? All right, well, first let's see what happens if we go to the support levels of support, which the thing is showing. All right, is this unbelievable? What happens if we go to the level of support? Yeah, the Treasury's locked up. We can't have that happen on there. What if we go to 49.50? All right, we'll be at 20 and 18. All right, well, big deal. Not huge changes. So let's change these estimate numbers. Let's make it 74, 72, 67, 64, 66, maybe, and that'll be going forward. Well, there's your forecast going forward. Okay, the tariffs, they just took a bite out of earnings. At this level here, we're at a 21.19 PE and going into an 18 forward with 14, 16, mid-teens growth. But if we do get any growth and it doesn't get cut, that's not so bad. Maybe a little high, but not awful. It's not the global depression which people are talking about. Boy, I apologize. I've never really had this happen to me. Maybe it's memory. Maybe that's a memory thing. But it might just be my computer. But I guess if there's a sign of the times, market crash, computer crash. There we go. So, SPX, SP 500. So, yeah, maybe we go down to the support line, 49.50. Let's plug that in, 49.50. Oh, no, we'll be at a 2018 PE with several months before any new real hard data comes in. Are you prepared to throw all your money away when the future is so unknown? Interesting. So to me, valuation is relatively reasonable at the time being, and it might take us 3 months before we get more accurate data. Now we could go down more, maybe around here, but in the short term, yeah, we could easily bounce back and hover around in here and stuff like that. Before we might have more struggle, but by then we'll have plenty of time to make make changes in our portfolio. So that's a word about sentiment and earnings. Okay, and again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. So we were at TLT, the VIX, the final thing. VIX, boom. VIX is way up here at 45. The green zone is my buy line where I just draw it across the top of the various panics over the years. Historically, is 45 where you panic or where you're buying? Now, again, this is COVID. Unusual. You're going to die. You had a potential to catch a virus and die, which turned out to be a total lie. But at the time, we didn't know. What happened here? We raised prices a little bit on the products you buy at Walmart. Come on, people. Think, McFly, think. How terrifying is this? There's a world of difference between these two scenarios. So that's basically my message. And again, reasons why I think we're closer to a bounce or a bottom, a near-term bottom, than, Jim Cramer's calling for a 1987 crash. It's like, come on, give me a break, dude. As if Cramer's right on anything, by the way. So we got XLE. That looks awful. XLF, financials. Yeah, box breakdown looks awful. Like I said, most of the charts are awful. XLU, box breakdown. It is what it is. So if you saw the warning signs ahead of time, like on the NASDAQ here, then you got out and you're not really worried about this. The people who are screaming the loudest are the ones who traded this incredibly poorly. They bought the dip. They didn't understand that this was a top. Those are the people who are crying the loudest now. Don't have any sympathy for them. They made their own mistakes. They will learn. That's what the market does to people, and that's the way it is. Okay, let's get a little more positive now. Do we have anything on the bullish side? Whoopsie. Bullish signals. Sell H. This is one of the few box breakouts. I own it. I bought some. I put it on Twitter. Big yellow bar buy signal right there. Big volume. And then it had a second yellow bar signal and a box breakout here. I'm long. Can I deny that that's happening? No, I can't deny it. Is there any big red selling? There is some selling here, but, what's wrong with this? Anything? Bueller? Nothing. So if you have anything on a buy list, I think this should be one of them. This little guy, ML Go, well, that's goalpost volume right there. And it's already had a ripper move. I have no idea about this one. I do not own any of this one. I do own Sell H. I do not own this one, but hey, I put it there because I see it. The last one, I do own some, TGTX. It's a frickin' biotech. Biotechs usually suck. Uh, this one right here, I bought in around about 37. It's at 37.35. Basically, you could say I'm clinging to this one. But I like, up until Friday, I thought this had an excellent chance of just continuing going, and we'll see. That's a bearish shooter bar, but we'll see what happens this next week. So, I mean, I have a smidge profit, barely. So why not? And you see the overall pattern looks great. Is there any real big selling here? No. There was some selling, but any big giant selling? No. We got big giant, green, green, green. So yeah, bullish list. All right, let's see anything with bullish signals here. Okay, BLND. This one here is in the mortgage space. What I noted here was this box breakdown here. And then, boom, the hammer pattern here on some volume. And then it triggered positive right here. You see that? Came up, and now it's sort of going a little sideways. But because it's in mortgages, I noted it. Costco. Okay. This one here, that's a bearish signal, but it had a bullish inside bar here. It triggered a little bit higher, but no, now it's taken away. Basically, that should go on the bearish signals list. FSLR. Well, that's a bullish signal of some sorts. I don't know what's going on there, but notable in that FSLR didn't get crushed on the daily, meaning on Thursday it had this big move here. Friday it take it back, but again, volume sequence. Green, little red. Big green, little red. That might be a buy right there. Possibly. Although I think solar sucks in general and I wouldn't buy it, but it's interesting. Rocket. RKT. Rocket. Sideways box. Yellow bar buy signal. Big volume. Big, huge green volume. Biggest green volume since 2021. By far. Something good is happening at the rocket. And I noted it. I saw a signal. I pulled the trigger, bought some. And you know what's funny? I didn't buy it on the day of the signal. I noted this yellow signal here, like, oh wow, look at that. The next day, I don't know, man. And then after thinking about it, we got a signal that did pretty good. It's hanging around this closing thing. If I can get it right around 13, 14, yeah, let's try some. So I bought, and my number's 1391. Look at that, 1540. I'm loving it. Tesla, look at this. Hammers and shooters, hammers and shooters. Unfortunately, these are two bullish ones, but now it's been followed by two bearish ones. This one was looking good. This one's not. Tesla needs to come off this list and go to bearish. Vert. So I was liking Vert. Look at this sideways pattern. When everything else is crashing, this is going sideways. Caught my eye. But that's a bearish potential signal. See the two bullish signals right there? But now we got a bearish. You got to respect that. Maybe it's just not ready. Let's look on the daily. Basically, it was fine all up in here, and then boom. So if it recovers, then I'll be putting it back over here. But one to watch. Okay, so we got 3 on the bull list and 3 on the sort of bullish list. Everything else is here on the bearish list. Woof. Ugh. And everything on the bearish list basically gave signals way before, back in December, back in January. AOI, there's your bearish signal right here, back in December. Pink bar, warning signal. Sit up and pay attention. Apple, thunk, and ugh, ugly. Yeah, Apple's going to have problems with this tariff, I'm sure. Airbnb, box breakdown. Affirm, blech. Buy now, pay later. Should change their name to Tariff. A-Lab went up and now came down. And see it formed this box here, box breakdown, clunk. AMD. I shorted it in here. I covered in here. Did you see that little bar right there? I wish I had kept it, but I didn't. Oh well. Still made some good money, but not good. See this downtrend? Is that changing anytime soon? No, man. AMD might go, what, down to 60. I used to have a video clip, which I would put out, which says that when prices and charts are going up to the right, they tend to continue going up and to the right. When stuff is going down and to the right, things continue to go down and to the right. Where's AMD? Down and to the right. Uh-oh. Amazon. So although all that cheap Chinese stuff, which they now sell on Amazon, I actually can't tell you the last time I shopped on Amazon. When was the last time you shopped on Amazon? Do you still buy tons of stuff there, or, has your buying habits changed? Mine changed totally on Amazon. I think it's full of junk now. And yeah, they got AWS, but man. But anyways, this looks awful. The top here, breakout, yay. Uh-oh, box failure, uh-oh. It's been down ever since. ANET, lovely uptrend. And then pink bar, uh-oh. And then contacts with everything else, big volume right here. Uh-oh. What did I do? I shorted it here. I'm still short. Think the downtrend worries me? I'm still short here, but I did think about covering, but maybe next week. ANF, big sideways. Oop, there's your signal, down. Clunk, ugh. APP, man. Breakout, woof. Sell it down, oof. Break box failure, oof. Everything was fantastic until this peak bar, and then everything ever since then has been awful. ARM, box breakdown. And by the way, on this list, basically every chart looks like this. So you see, that's when you saw all the deterioration and you saw this, that's where you could have been like, maybe I should be hedging my portfolio. Maybe I should be selling. Maybe I should be doing something. So let's just scroll through. We'll go through these quickly, see if anything stands out. This stood out because it had the yellow bar up here, was bullish looking, but now pulled back. Probably I would just call this as forming a new box. Woof. Broadcom. Top. Ever since then, down. And look at the volume. Big red, big red. Ugh. BA. Ugh. Ugh. Down. Even Berkshire had a pink bar signal. And for good reason, They represent a lot of the American economy. A lot of uncertainty right now. The Bros. I did buy some of this down here at when I tweeted at 10:30 a.m. that I thought I saw hammers everywhere, and I thought that was a buying opportunity. I got really good prices. I'm in the 49s. But this is still a box breakdown. I bought it because I've owned it before. It's still a box breakdown. It's still a signal. Chance I may be selling it. I bought it up here. I sold it for a smidge gain up here. Doesn't look good, but we'll see. Caterpillar, ugly. Kava, down, glug, glug. CEG, down, down. More down. Although this is interesting. Look at that. A lot of volume here, and it's not crashing so much. CORZ, keep an eye on that. Coin, yeah, you think Bitcoin's great? Yeah, that's down. Costco, we covered that one. However, Costco, sideways. Do you sell here? No, you wait for the reaction. And if it moves fast, well, you still got the bottom of the box here to take action. You got options. CRDO down, Carvana, uh-oh. Just short paradise, galore. Deckers, oof. Dell down. DHI, interesting housing, did get some bids. Again, if interest rates come down, I was short this, I covered there. ELF, I'm still short this one. Glug, glug, glug. ESTC down. General Electric, plugh. I should move this up. GEV down. GGAL down, Argentina. The Globe, that looks disgusting. Look at that. 64 down to 29. Your stop out should have been right here at 56 if you bought this, because that's where the box fails. And it doesn't mean you have to sell it here, but you should have alerts like crazy going off. GME, yeah, they're buying Bitcoin. Who cares? It's still down. Well, we'll see. But I don't think it's as meaningful as people think. Google down. You want to know the signal in Google? Look here. 185, now 145. Darvas method, or Darvas with a strat, will help you save you money. The GER. Bought it here, sold here. Yeah, look at that. Big red volume. What I'd be looking for is big green volume. Hood. I bought Hood as one of my buys. I'm long it right down in here. Up a couple bucks, but, we'll see. Again, that's a box breakdown, but if we rebound, this will be back up here. If we don't rebound, I'll bail. Interesting. I don't see it. I'm still down. IoT down. JP Morgan, box breakdown. Let's look at IoT for a second. Yeah, look at that. Down. Now, this was a good volume sequence. Big red followed by bigger green. Normally, that's good. Buy the dip. But then it puked it out. But because big investors liked it here and here, I'd say there's a good chance they might like it in this area. Chance. If they liked it once, why wouldn't they like it again? This one down. Len, I'm short Len. Housing down, but maybe I got to reconsider if the Fed cuts rates. That one down. MDB down. Say it isn't so. Meta down. You get the picture. Monday. Breakdown. Moderna. If you had shorted it back here, just sit with it and trend follow. Microsoft. I think they were buying the dip here. All the dip buyers were buying the dip here. Now they got crushed. This was interesting, and it barely triggered, but you should have your stop losses right in here also. That's a hammer, bullish. But, yep, no thanks. MicroStrategy, basically no signals. Hanging tough. Woof, Micron, look at that. Clunk. And BIS. Interesting. Looks like it put up a fight here, but I don't know. We need to see more. Net clunk. What was that? NNE clunk. This one, ServiceNow software. There's your signal. Huge volume. Pink bar. This week here basically gave you a chance. Well, that's a bearish bar, but basically that was you saying, uh-oh, we better take some precautions. If you did, that was at roughly $1,000. Now it's at 700. Nvidia, I'm short Nvidia. Down, down, down. What's different about Nvidia from everything else? Nothing. Oklo, just Oklo should be oh no. Oh no. This one, Oracle down. PI, what a disaster this one has been. To think I bought this full of optimism and then sold it down here. Thank God, I should have shorted it, but, well, I screwed that up. PLTR, I was a buyer of that one. This is one which, this was my first buy, and then I just decided to buy a bunch of other stuff. It's because, see how it's at the bottom of the box here? Let's zoom in a little bit. It's at the bottom of the box. It's barely there. Any rebound, it's at this moving average. Any rebound, we'll put it back up here. It'll be a great positioning spot. So yesterday I bought PLTR, and then I said, well, I should just buy a couple others. Oh, no, not again. Come on. Well, you get the picture about the chart patterns here. My point is the signals were there, and we got to interpret the data. And don't read Twitter with people posting charts of 1987. Instead, look at the data. The VIX. I'm not going to wait for that to. We'll just close it. The VIX is stretched high. The put-call ratio is stretched high. Everybody's bearish. Jim Cramer's tweeting out it's 1987. Maybe it's time to consider being a contrarian to all that doom and gloom. All right, we're back. Qualcomm holding tough, but nope, give it up. Roblox, I kind of like Roblox, but not good. Oh yeah, Rubrik. I bought Rubrik. Same principle as PLTR. At the bottom of the box, if we rally at all, boom, it'll be back in. Great positioning. But it actually, when I put this one on this list, it was down below here in a box breakout. I'm going to put this on bullish list. Actually, I should probably put PLTR there also. What else? Reddit. I'm actually short Reddit. And so far, that's been pretty good. When you're short at 120 and it's at 86, well, that makes me feel pretty good, huh? See, that's why I'm not so upset about the decline, because I had shorts on. I saw it coming a mile away. And I understand now why Warren Buffett has made most of his money after age 50. It takes years to really understand the game. And I view this period, the last few months, as some of my finest work. Saw it coming, took action, told the world on my Twitter account. Do people listen? I only have like 4 followers. 4 real followers, including my mom. Hi, Mom. But the point is, saw it, took action, told people about it, and now it's come true. And now I'm shifting my weather vanes. And I believe it'll play out that way also, but we'll see. One here, which I did not buy, but that's holding tough, RKLB. Maybe we should buy some. Looks just like the PLTR and the Rubrik. Interesting. Root, not doing so good, but you had this huge warning signal here. I traded it here, sold here, traded it here, sold here. Did it capture the entire chunk? No, but I didn't lose. Defense, woof. SE, I sold that. I mean, if there's anything hit by a tariff, it's an Asian company, right? Yeah. Blew it out right at the open. But bought it, started buying way back here. Got shook out here, rebought it here. Now out there. That's a good trade. This one looking, I forget what that is, but looks awful. Looks awful. Shopify, oof. Awful. Shark Ninja. I had no idea, but yeah, tariffs. Talk about being impacted by tariffs. Damn. Pink bar signal right here. And look at this. Volume sequence. Right here, it had been going up. I don't know, man. No, we love it. Look at that. Big selling followed by big buying. Okay. Sideways to a little up. Then again here. Pink, pink. Where'd the bulls go? Where'd the bulls go here? Zero bulls. Signal, signal, signal. Now, they're probably in big trouble. Snow down, down. Ugh, oil, transporting fuel. Awful. Gosh, who knows what's going on there. T-Doc, awful. And to think, I thought this was based on the pattern, big, box breakout. And this, I think T-Doc is really cheap. It's only worth $1 billion. And I use T-Doc with my company plan. I've used them. I'm satisfied, with them, with their service. I think it's okay. But damn, what a wipeout. And it looks like it's probably keep going down. Tesla we know about. Upstart. Ugh. Auto lending. If URI. Yeah. And then Vert, we talked about that. VRT and VST. Everything just sucks. So not much bullish. The final list I keep is this watching list. This is where I keep an eye on stuff like GH. I do own GH from right here. Clinging to it. It's doing okay, going sideways. Netflix has been doing pretty good, but look at that. That's not such a hot sign. But if we rebound, that'll just be back in the box. In fact, I'll put this on a bullish list. Just keeping an eye on stuff. Rivian, Roku. Oh, yeesh. Okay, that looks awful. But just Spotify. Yeah, look at Spot. That looks decent. There's just no signals. Walmart. Oh, that needs to go into this one. Bearish. This one, yeah, bearish, but yeah, I'm just following it. I wouldn't even trade it. Ferrari. Yeah, okay. So you get the point, but trying to keep watch lists and things going. But the whole point is there were signals to get out. And now, while there's no specific signals, let's go to the indexes, let's go to SPYs. While there's no specific signals, there are some indirect signals that maybe we're going to bounce here. Or that things aren't going to be as bad as it seems. Do we have any signals on intraday or daily? Whoop, SPY, I wanted SPY. Looks awful. But I'll tell you one other thing. Anecdotally, I heard from sources, from people that big accounts, got liquidated on Friday. So maybe a lot of that selling pressure will be relieved, and maybe we bounce here a little bit. So stay positive. Tariffs aren't the end of the world. And, are people dying from a virus? No. It's just their products at Walmart just went up a little bit in price. So stay positive. Don't go off the edge into Looneyville, and we'll see what happens next week. All right, have a good one. Talk to you soon. Bye. Oh, if you have any questions about anything, put it in the Twitter replies or stuff to that. All right, have a good one. Bye.